The Horror at Red Hook, Part 7. Malone's dream, experienced in full before he knew of Sidom's death and transfer at sea, was curiously supplemented by some odd realities of the case, though that is no reason why anyone should believe it. The 3 old houses in Parker Place, doubtless long rotten with decay in its most insidious form, collapsed without visible cause while half the raiders and most of the prisoners were inside, and of both the greater number were instantly killed. Only in the basements and cellars was there much saving of life, and Malone was lucky to have been deep below the house of Robert Sidom, for he really was there, as no one is disposed to deny. They found him unconscious by the edge of a night-black pool, and a grotesquely horrible jumble of decay and bone. Identifiable through dental work was the body of Sidom, a few feet away. The case was plain, for it was hither that the smugglers' underground canal led, and the men who took Sidom from the ship had brought him home. They themselves were never found, or at least never identified, and the ship's doctor was not yet satisfied with the simple certitudes of the police. Sidom was evidently a leader of an extensive man-smuggling operation, for the canal to his house was but one of several subterranean channels and tunnels in the neighbourhood. There was a tunnel from this house to a crypt beneath the dance hall church, a crypt accessible from the church only through a narrow secret passage in the north wall, and in whose chambers were singular and terrible things were discovered. The croaking organ was there, as well as a vast arched chapel with wooden benches and strangely figured altar. The walls were lined with small cells, in 17 of which, hideous to relate, solitary prisoners in a state of complete idiocy were found chained, including 4 mothers with infants, and of disturbingly strange appearance. The infants died soon after exposure to the light, a circumstance which doctors thought rather merciful. Nobody but Malone, among those who inspected them, remembered the sombre expression of old Delirio, and sint unquam demonis incubi et succubi, it an ex tali congressum prolius narciscum quet. Before the canals were filled up, they were thoroughly dredged, and yielded forth a sensational array of sawed and split bones of all sizes. The kidnapping epidemic, very clearly, had been traced home, though only 2 of the surviving prisoners could by any legal thread be connected with it. These men were now in prison, since they failed of conviction as accessories in the actual murders. The carved golden pedestal or throne, as so often mentioned by Malone, as of primary occult importance, was never brought to light, though at one place under Sidom's house the canal was observed to sink into a well too deep for dredging. It was choked up to the mouth and cemented over when the cellars of the new houses were made, but Malone often speculates on what lies beneath. Police, satisfied that they had shattered a dangerous gang of maniacs and man-smugglers, turned over to the federal authorities the unconvicted Kurds, who before their deportation were conclusively found to belong to the Yazidi clan of devil worshippers. The tramp ship and its crew remain an elusive mystery. Those cynical detectives are once more ready to combat its smuggling and rum-running ventures. Malone thinks these detectives show a sadly limited perspective in their lack of wonder at the myriad unexplainable details and suggested obscurities of the whole case, though he is just as critical of the newspapers, which saw only a morbid sensation and gloated over minor sadist cults, which they might have proclaimed a horror from the universe's very heart. But he is content to rest silent and Chapachet, calming his nervous system and praying that time may gradually transfer his terrible experience from the realm of present reality to that of picturesque and semi-mythical remoteness. Robert Sidom sleeps beside his bride in Greenwood Cemetery. No funeral was held over the strangely released bones, and relatives are grateful for the swift oblivion which overtook the case as a whole. The scholar's connection with the Red Hook horrors, indeed, was never blazoned by legal proof. Since his death forestalled any inquiry he would otherwise have faced. His own end is not much mentioned, and Saddam's hope that prosperity may recall him only as a gentle recluse who dabbled in harmless magic and folklore. As for Red Hook, it is always the same. Saddam came and went, a terror gathered and faded, but the evil spirit of darkness and squalor broods on amongst the Mongols in the old brick houses, and prowling bands still parade on unknown errands past windows where lights and twisted faces unaccountably appear and disappear. Age-old horror is a hydra, with 1,000 heads, and the cults of darkness are rooted in blasphemies deeper than the well of Democritus. The soul of the beast is omnipresent and triumphant. The Red Hook's legions of blear-eyed, pock-marked youths still chant and curse and howl as they file from abyss to abyss. None knows whence or whither, pushed on by blind laws of biology, which they may never understand. As of old, more people enter Red Hook than leave it on the landward side, and there are already rumours of new canals running underground to certain centres of traffic in liquor and other less mentionable things. The dance hall church is now mostly a dance hall, and queer faces have appeared at night at the windows. Lately a policeman expressed the belief that the filled-up crypt had been dug out, and for no simple explainable purpose. Who are we to combat poisons older than history and mankind? Apes danced in Asia to these horrors, and the cancer lurks secure and spreading where furtiveness hides in rows of decaying brick. Malone does not shudder without cause, for only the other day an officer overheard a suavely squinting hag teach a small child some whispered patois in the shadow of an art areaway. He listened and thought of it very strange when he heard her repeat over again, "O friend and companion of night, thou who rejoicest in the baying of dogs and spilt blood, who wanderest in the midst of shades among the tombs, who longest for blood and brightest terror in mortars, Gorgo, Mormo, thousand-faced moon, look favourably on our sacrifices." So ends the strange case of the horror at Red Hook.